Queen Brunhilda was born around 543 AD in the Visigothic kingdom, in what is now Spain and southern France. She was the daughter of King Athanagald and was raised in a royal court that still preserved many traditions of the Roman Empire. From an early age, she received an education that was rare for women of her time. She learned to read and write fluently, studied Latin and regional languages, understood Roman legal traditions, and was trained in diplomacy and administration. While most women of her era were prepared only for marriage and domestic life, Brunhilda was prepared for leadership. She grew up observing political negotiations, royal councils, and military planning, which shaped her understanding of power and governance. In 567 AD, she married King Sigebert I of Austrasia, a powerful Frankish kingdom covering modern northeastern France, Belgium, and western Germany. This marriage was meant to strengthen political alliances, but it also became a genuine partnership. Sigebert valued Brunhilda's intelligence and relied on her advice. Together, they worked to stabilize their kingdom and strengthen royal authority. Brunhilda did not remain in the background. She attended councils, corresponded with foreign rulers, and influenced major political decisions. She helped organize taxation, improve legal systems, and restore Roman-style infrastructure that had fallen into decay after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Roads were repaired, bridges rebuilt, and communication routes maintained under her influence. Churches and monasteries were supported, not only for religious reasons, but also because they served as centers of education and administration. Her leadership brought order to regions often plagued by violence and disorder. Her life changed forever after the murder of her younger sister, Galswintha. Galswintha had married Sigebert's brother, King Chilperic of Neustria, to strengthen family alliances. However, Chilperic had a mistress named Fredegund, a woman of humble origin who was ambitious and ruthless. Fredegund resented Galswintha and saw her as an obstacle to power. Within a year of the marriage, Galswintha was found strangled in her bed. Everyone knew Fredegund was responsible, yet Chilperic chose to marry her instead of punishing her. This act deeply wounded Brunhilda and ignited a bitter feud that would last nearly 50 years. It was not only a political rivalry, but also a personal vendetta rooted in betrayal and loss. Soon after, Sigebert was assassinated in 575 AD by agents loyal to Fredegund. Brunhilda lost her husband and protector and was briefly imprisoned by her enemies. Despite these setbacks, she managed to escape and return to power. She later became regent for her young son, Childebert II. As regent, she ruled in his name but exercised real authority. She negotiated treaties, appointed officials, and defended the kingdom against rivals. She faced constant opposition from nobles who resented her control and questioned her right to rule. Nevertheless, she maintained stability through intelligence, diplomacy, and determination. When Childebert II died in 596 AD, Brunhilda once again assumed power, this time as regent for her grandsons, Theudebert II and Theuderic II, who ruled different kingdoms. This made her one of the most powerful figures in Western Europe. She now controlled multiple territories and influenced nearly every major political decision in the Frankish world. She ruled openly and decisively, issuing commands, leading negotiations, and enforcing laws. Unlike many royal women who acted only behind the scenes, Brunhilda ruled in public and in her own name. This visibility made her both respected and feared. Her strength alarmed the Frankish nobility. Many nobles preferred weak kings who could be manipulated and controlled. Brunhilda's competence threatened their privileges and independence. Over time, resentment grew. Nobles began to spread rumors portraying her as cruel, immoral, and dangerous. She was accused of poisoning rivals, practicing sorcery, and manipulating kings. Many of these accusations were exaggerated or entirely fabricated, but they were effective in undermining her reputation. In a society deeply influenced by superstition and patriarchal values, accusations against powerful women were easily believed. Meanwhile, her longtime enemy Fredegund died, but her hatred lived on through her son, Clothar II. He inherited not only her kingdom but also her desire for revenge. Clothar was patient and strategic. He observed the growing dissatisfaction among Brunhilda's nobles and waited for the right moment. In 613 AD, that moment arrived. Brunhilda's own supporters betrayed her. They invited Clothar's army into their territories, opened their gates, and handed her over without resistance. After nearly 50 years of leadership, she was abandoned by those she had ruled. Clothar accused her of murdering 10 kings and destroying his family. These charges were used to justify her punishment and to present himself as a righteous avenger. He demanded that she confess. Brunhilda refused, understanding that her confession would serve as propaganda and legitimize her destruction. Even in captivity, she preserved her dignity and resisted manipulation. At 70 years old, weakened by age and decades of political struggle, she was completely powerless. Yet she did not surrender her principles. Her execution was carefully planned to humiliate and terrify. It was designed not only to kill her, but also to erase her legacy and discourage other women from seeking power. It lasted 3 days. On the first day, she was stripped naked in public. This act was meant to destroy her royal identity and reduce her to an object of ridicule. In medieval society, a queen's body symbolized authority and honor. Exposing it was a symbolic attack on her status. Thousands gathered to watch, mock, and insult her. On the second day, she was placed on a camel and paraded through towns and villages. Camels were rare in Frankish lands and associated with foreign cultures. This choice was deliberate. It portrayed her as an outsider who never truly belonged. People who had once welcomed her with ceremonies now treated her as entertainment. The humiliation was psychological as well as physical. On the third day, she was executed. She was tied to a wild horse and dragged across rough ground until she died. The brutality of this method ensured prolonged suffering and public horror. After her death, her remains were burned so that no grave or monument could preserve her memory. This was not justice. It was symbolic violence meant to erase her influence and instill fear. It was a message to society, especially to women, that visible power would be punished mercilessly. After her death, Clothar II became the sole ruler of the Frankish kingdoms. He presented himself as a unifier who had ended decades of conflict. His supporters and court historians wrote accounts portraying Brunhilda as a cruel, manipulative, and murderous tyrant. These narratives justified her execution and strengthened his legitimacy. Monasteries copied these texts for centuries, making them the dominant historical record. As a result, Brunhilda was remembered for generations as a villain. However, modern historians have re-examined the evidence. By studying legal documents, letters, building inscriptions, and administrative records, they have uncovered a more balanced picture. These sources reveal Brunhilda as a capable administrator, a patron of infrastructure, and a stabilizing force in a violent age. She maintained postal systems, supported trade, improved justice, and worked to preserve Roman traditions. She was no more ruthless than male rulers who were praised for similar actions. Her destruction was political and deeply gendered. She ruled openly in her own name instead of hiding behind husbands or sons. For this, she was treated as a threat rather than a legitimate ruler. Her punishment was harsher and more humiliating than that given to most male rivals. Her refusal to confess was one of her final acts of resistance. By denying Clothar the narrative he wanted, she preserved a space for doubt. That doubt allowed later generations to question official accounts and seek the truth. Her life illustrates how power creates stories to justify cruelty, how propaganda shapes memory, and how public humiliation is used as a weapon. She ruled for nearly half a century, longer than many kings. She built infrastructure, strengthened institutions, supported religion, and defended her territories. She navigated assassinations, betrayals, wars, and political intrigue with remarkable resilience. Though her enemies tried to erase her, her story survived. Today, Queen Brunhilda is remembered not as a monster, but as a strong, intelligent ruler who challenged the limits of her time and paid a terrible price for her independence. She represents the countless women whose abilities were suppressed by fear and violence. Her life reminds us that history is not neutral, that truth can be buried under propaganda, and that courage sometimes survives only in memory. She stands as a symbol of resilience, leadership, and resistance in a world that feared powerful women.